Ayo! What's up, y'all? It's your boy Ace. This is Fantasized Football. We are back once again, bringing y'all some more fantasy football content for the 2021 fantasy football season. And we are here today on Saturday, yes, Saturday, in order to bring y'all my starts of the week and answer your start sit questions. Thank you so much for dropping your start sit comments in the comment section on YouTube, over on Instagram, Twitter, and the like. You guys are truly the best. I appreciate you so very much. But before we get into it, quickly wanted to give a shout out to each and every one of y'all that come by on a weekly basis to show your boy some love and support. It really, honest to God, from the bottom of my heart, means the world to me. If you're new to the channel, I do hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Help me reach the big nickel, 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the fantasy football season. I would really appreciate that. But yes, we are here today to do my starts of the week and answer your start sit questions. So we got a lot to talk about. I'm going to be pretty brief with it, give you my start of the week, a quick reason as to why they are my start of the week, and then we will move on to the start or sit questions that you guys left in the comments, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. I also have a projected stat line for each of my starts of the week for y'all. Take it with a grain of salt. It's just for fucking fun, all right? So don't light me up at all. Please, I would really appreciate that as well. But like I said, we got a lot to talk about, so let's get right into the main event. And we're going to start off with my quarterback start of the week, which is going to be Kirk Cousins home versus the Seattle Seahawks. My boy Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings has been on fucking fire to start the season, throwing for nearly 600 yards and 5 touchdowns through the first 2 games. And he's got a matchup at home this week against Seattle in a game that I expect to be a high-scoring game that will call for a lot of passing on both sides, from both units, from Seattle and from the Vikings. And as you guys know, I try to do these starts of the week. I don't want to just throw out there, start Russell Wilson, against the Vikings or whatever. I try to give you guys some more borderline type of guys. So I thought Kirk Cousins was a good call. If you've got a decision to make, I do think Kirk Cousins is in for a big week this week, home versus Seattle. So a projected stat line for Kirk Cousins is going to be 26 of 37 passing for 291 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 1 rush, 8 yards, 200. Oh, boy. 28.4 fantasy points coming from Kirk Cousins. And now let us move on to the running back position, where we have Saquon Barkley home versus the Atlanta Falcons, obviously of the New York Giants. Now, Saquon has been very disappointing through the first 2 weeks of the season, but you should have expected this. They said they were going to bring him along very slowly. He hasn't seen more than 15 touches in the first 2 games, but I expect him to be unleashed, at least to a certain degree, this week against Atlanta in a very good matchup. I expect the Giants to be in this game, this to be a competitive game. If anything, the Giants, I expect to kind of take advantage of this matchup and be ahead a lot in this game, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity for Saquon Barkley to really get the ball rolling. The proverbial ball gets rolling, baby. And Atlanta is a great matchup, letting up nearly 4.8 yards per attempt to the running back position. So if you have Barkley, feel confident, even though he has been a little bit wishy-washy through these first 2 weeks. He's had a tough first 2 weeks of the season. Feel very confident in starting him this week. And as for a projected stat line, I have him for 17 carries for 79 yards and 1 rushing touchdown, adding 6 targets for 4 catches and 37 yards receiving, resulting in 19.6 half PPR points. If you have Saquon Barkley, feel very confident slotting him in your lineup this week. Now, moving on to the wide receiver position here, we have Marvin Jones of the Jacksonville Jaguars home versus Arizona this week. Now, Marvin Jones has been looking like the #1 wide receiver on this Jacksonville Jaguars team through the first 2 weeks of the season. He's had 9+ targets, 5+ catches, 55+ yards, and a touchdown in the first 2 weeks, respectively. He's going up against Arizona. This is going to be a game where Arizona is going to be putting up a lot of points. Jacksonville is more than likely going to be playing from behind, calling for a pass-happy game script. Lawrence is going to have to throw the ball a lot, and we've seen that he does gravitate towards Marvin Jones, evidenced by what we just discussed, getting 9+ targets in each of the first 2 weeks. Also, last week, the Cardinals allowed both Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen to score. This defense, I'm still not completely sold on, like I said, in week 1, and again, week 1 and week 2. I believe I said it in both. I'm not completely sold on this defense yet, so I would feel very confident starting Marvin Jones this week in this matchup against Arizona, where I expect the Jaguars to have to throw the ball quite frequently. And as for a projected stat line, I have him for 9 targets, 5 catches, 82 yards, and 1 touchdown in the receiving game, 16.7 half PPR points. Now, moving on to our final start of the week, we're going to go over to the tight end position. And you know what? Tight end's going to be a little tough this year, so let me throw you a bone real quick. If you got fucking Jared Cook and you don't have one of the great tight ends, start Jared Cook. I believe in Jared Cook this week against Kansas City as well. But on to the real start of the week. It is going to be TJ Hawkinson of the Detroit Lions. If you have, home versus Baltimore. Home versus Baltimore for TJ Hawkinson of the Detroit Lions. Now, if you followed the channel in the offseason, y'all know that I was huge on TJ Hawkinson. And through the first 2 weeks, he's made me look like a genius, right? I knew that I had a good feeling. I shouldn't say I knew. I had a good feeling about Hawkinson, as did a lot of people, though. But he has proven to have taken a step forward in terms of his game, in terms of his efficiency, and he has obviously been the target leader on this team, leading the team in targets through the first 2 weeks. He scored a touchdown in each of the first 2 games as well, which is great to see, to add on with the volume. On top of that, Baltimore has allowed 2 big games back-to-back from the tight end position, given it was Darren Waller and Travis Kelce. But TJ Hawkinson has looked great, so hopefully he can continue that trend this week in this matchup against Baltimore. Again, like I mentioned with Marvin Jones, I expect this to be a pass-heavy game script for the Detroit Lions, where Baltimore's probably going to get on a roll early. I mean, Detroit's defense has been abysmal. We will see, hopefully early on, that Baltimore gets out to a lead, forcing Jared Goff and the Lions to throw the ball a lot, seeing a lot of volume going way of TJ Hawkinson. So he is going to be my start of the week at the tight end position. And as for a projected stat line, we have 9 targets, 6 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown, resulting in 16 half PPR points. That's correct, right? Yes, 16 half PPR points for TJ Hawkinson. So those are my starts of the week. Quarterback, we have Kirk Cousins, Minnesota Vikings, home versus Seattle. Saquon Barkley, New York Giants, home versus Atlanta. Marvin Jones, home versus Arizona of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And TJ Hawkinson of the Detroit Lions, home versus Baltimore. And now let us move on to you guys' start or sit questions for the week. Let me pull this up on that there phone machine. So let's start off with Antonio Gibson at Buffalo or Tyson Williams at Detroit. We don't have a format for this one. Fuck, I'm about to live pivot. I'm live pivoting. I have Tyson Williams here. You know what? Antonio Gibson. It was just reported Antonio Gibson is good to go. He is ready to go to start the season. Tyson Williams has a great matchup here against Detroit. So if at all possible, start both. Throw one of them in your flex if you can. But if you're asking me this question, I'm assuming that Gibson may be your flex or whatever. But I would start both of these guys if you can. But if I have to pick just one, I'm going with Antonio Gibson. Start your studs. Buffalo let up 3 rushing touchdowns already this season, right? Gibson has a big opportunity here against this Buffalo team. This is a big matchup for him. He is healthy. He is ready to go. Hopefully, he is heavily involved in the game plan. But I do love Tyson Williams a lot in a matchup where I think the Ravens are going to be able to run the ball very heavily. But live pivot here, we're going with Antonio Gibson instead of Tyson Williams. If you have to pick just one, but if you can start both of these guys, they both should be in for big weeks. Now, moving on to the second question we have here, it is going to be start, sit, Antonio Brown at the Rams. Now, this is going to have a lot to do with whether Antonio Brown plays or not, but as of right now, what I've seen is the report that he is very questionable. And regardless, you know what? Against this Rams team, I'm just going to say sit regardless. It's a tough matchup, and he only saw 3 targets last week. So sit Antonio Brown. I'm sure you have someone else on your roster you can throw into the flex instead. Moving on, PPR flex, Rondell Moore at Jacksonville, Mark Andrews at Detroit, or Marvin Jones home versus Arizona. We're going to go with Marvin Jones, but I would also throw in a little side note there and just say start Mark Andrews at tight end. I think the Ravens are going to try to get Mark Andrews going, but Marvin Jones is my start of the week, right? If for whatever reason you have Mark Andrews and another tight end that you feel confident in, like Hawkinson or something, I don't know how you would have ended up with both of them, but if you did by any chance, whatever, obviously start Hawk, but Marvin Jones is my start of the week. If I have to pick one here, between Rondell Moore and Marvin Jones, I'm definitely going with Marvin Jones. I expect both these games to be blowouts, but in Mark Andrews' case, I do think that they will try to get Mark Andrews going, right? Through the first 2 weeks, he's struggled a little bit. So I think that the Ravens, with all the money they've paid him, are going to want get him going. So maybe they'll just try to throw a few balls his way, just get him rocking and rolling, get him a touchdown, whatever it may be. But if I have to pick one, I am going to go with Marvin Jones. I'm going to wait and see a little bit more on Rondale Moore. I don't think he is a bad start this week, but I would definitely start Marvin Jones over him. Now, moving on. We have Matt Stafford at Tampa Bay or Justin Herbert at Kansas City. I'm going with Justin Herbert here. If you watched the trade targets video, I said Justin Herbert was my favorite trade target at the quarterback position this week. Matt Stafford has a tough matchup against Tampa Bay. We have Justin Herbert here against Kansas City in a matchup that I expect to be high scoring. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. It will probably be a shootout, and hopefully Justin Herbert can kind of regress to the mean that he was at last season, be productive. He has been good through these first 2 weeks, a few picks here and there, but he's been over 300 yards in each of his first 2 games. So I have faith in Herbert, and I would start him with confidence this week against Kansas City. Now, moving on, we have Michael Pittman at Tennessee, Gronk at the Rams, Devonta Smith at Dallas. I am going with Devonta Smith at the Dallas Cowboys. For me here, it would have been between Devonta Smith and Michael Pittman, but this is a divisional matchup here for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to go with Devonta Smith, because I think that this is going to be a high-scoring matchup. I mean, I said that last week, and the Dallas game last week was anything but that. But this is a divisional matchup. Both these teams are going to be going neck and neck throughout the game. I expect Devonta Smith to see the volume that he has been seeing. I mean, he's been, 7 targets at least in the first 2 weeks. Pittman's seen some volume too, but it was a little inconsistent, seeing 12 targets last week, I believe 4 in week 1. So I'm going to go with Devonta Smith here in a divisional matchup. I feel good about both of these guys, but I'm going to lean a little bit more towards Devonta Smith. Now, moving on, we have a PPR flex question. We have James White, home versus New Orleans, Odell Beckham Jr. at Chicago, and Laviska Shenault, home versus Arizona. I'm going to go with Laviska Shenault. He hasn't been great through the first 2 weeks, but the volume has been there. He's had 16 targets through the first 2 weeks of the season. The game script should call for a lot of passing opportunities, which is obviously good for Shenault and all the pass catches, evidenced by Marvin Jones being my start of the week. New Orleans is a tough matchup for James White, obviously, and then Odell might not even play as of right now. It's seeming like he's kind of like a game time decision, but even at that, he hasn't played for a while, so I wouldn't feel very confident. Go with Laviska Shenault here. I think he's in for a big bounce back. Hopefully the volume remains there, and he can capitalize on that. Moving on, we have start 2. Elijah Mitchell, home versus Green Bay. Javonte Williams, home versus the Jets. Tyson Williams at Detroit. And Cordarrelle Patterson at New York Jets. I'm going to go with Tyson Williams and either Mitchell or Javonte, right? Now, I say Mitchell or Javonte because Elijah Mitchell he's still questionable. He might not play. If Mitchell doesn't play, go with Javonte. But if Mitchell plays, I would go with Mitchell. And I'm definitely starting Tyson Williams. I love Tyson Williams at the running back position, going up against Detroit. I actually thought about him possibly being the start of the week. I think this is going to be a run-heavy game script. A lot of opportunities to score. So Tyson Williams is a definite. Javonte, I think this may be a week against the Jets where they really try to get him going and get him rocking and rolling. Should have an opportunity to score. But again, with Elijah Mitchell as well, he's going to match up against Green Bay. So if he's healthy, he's ready to go. That is a good matchup as well. If Elijah Mitchell is fully healthy, I go with Mitchell. If not, I go with Javonte, but I'm absolutely starting Tyson Williams here. Now, moving on, we have half PPR, T. Higgins at Pittsburgh, Marvin Jones home versus Arizona. Now, it's actually looking like now when I got this question, it wasn't announced, but T. Higgins is now doubtful for this game, so it's definitely Marvin Jones. But either way, if Higgins was going to play, I love Higgins, but Marvin Jones is my start of the week. And the reason why I'm going to start Marvin Jones is for the same reasons I've said 3 times already in this video. So I hope you were paying attention. If you weren't, Marvin Jones is in a good matchup. He's had 9+ targets in the past 2 weeks. It's going to be a pass-heavy matchup. Not exactly a good matchup, but a pass-heavy matchup, so the volume should be there for him. So I'm going to start Marvin Jones here. Moving on, we have Emmanuel Sanders, home versus Washington, Hollywood Brown at Detroit. I'm going with Hollywood, baby. Soft matchup, although I did say I do think it's a pass-heavy game script. He has been heavily involved in these first 2 weeks. He's had a touchdown each of the first 2 weeks, and if they go out to an early lead, I expect Hollywood Brown to be a big part of them securing that lead, and they will still be throwing the ball a little bit here and there, and I'm just not confident in Emmanuel Sanders whatsoever and his volume and his production, so I would go with Hollywood Brown here in week 2. Week 3, I apologize. And he has had no less than 6 targets or 69 yards in the first 2 games. Just a little food for thought there. 69. Nice, baby. And now for the last one, we have Laviska Shenault home versus Arizona, KJ Osborne home versus Seattle, Darnell Mooney at Cleveland. I'm going to go with KJ Osborne here. This is a tough one, though. Laviska home versus Arizona, KJ Osborne home versus Seattle, and Darnell Mooney at Cleveland. This is a tough one, but I'm going to go with KJ Osborne. Yeah, I think this is going to be like a matchup that calls for a lot of passing. KJ Osborne has actually seen the volume through 2 weeks. All of them, though, have had similar volume. And with Laviska, he's just kind of struggled. Mooney's got a new quarterback with Justin Fields this week. He's probably got the toughest matchup out of the bunch. So I'm going to go with KJ Osborne kind of on the fact that I like the matchup, I like the volume, and obviously I have faith in Kirk Cousins this week as my start of the week. So I'm going to go with KJ Osborne there. But that is all. That is all your start-sit questions. Those are my starts of the week. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's hit that nickel, baby. Let's hit 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the fantasy football season. That would be so very sick. Thank you guys again so much for helping me out, dropping these start-sit questions in the comments, Instagram, Twitter. Follow my socials, link down in the description. That is it. That is all. That is all there is. Me, my boy, we are actually done for today. That is it. I will catch y'all next week. I hope you smash it this week. I hope you enjoy watching football Sunday, Monday. Have a great rest of your week, and I will catch you guys on Tuesday with the waivers. With that being said, we're gone. That's it. That's all there is. As always, thank you. Love you. Peace.